Welcome to Whisper at 3 a.m., where stories are only meant to be heard after midnight. Here, we share chilling experiences, untold secrets, and whispers that only come when the clock strikes 3. If you enjoy horror stories in the style of Reddit No Sleep, don't forget to like, subscribe, share to spread the fear, and comment if you're brave enough to share a story of your own. Now, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare to step into the dark. I don't take many selfies. Never been the type. Maybe once every couple of weeks if the light's nice or I'm feeling good about myself. But a month ago, I downloaded a new phone app, something a coworker mentioned offhand. RetroScan. It adds vintage filters, little timestamp overlays, that kind of thing. Supposedly, it mimics old 2000s digital cameras. I used it a few times, posted a few shots. That's when I started noticing it. A shape in the background, just in the edge of the frame. At first, I thought it was a smudge, some weird glitch in the app, but it was always in the same place, just over my shoulder, slightly to the left near the edge of the image. You had to zoom in to see it, a vague outline, like someone standing behind me. I showed it to my friend Casey. "You sure it's not a reflection?" she asked. I shrugged. I thought so, but I don't think it is. She pulled the photo onto her laptop, adjusted the contrast, and the shape sharpened. Definitely a figure. Tall, broad, no visible features, but clearly human. The proportions were wrong, though. Arms too long, head slightly tilted like it was listening. "That's messed up," Casey said. "Where were you when you took this?" "My kitchen." We looked again. There was no one else home. I live alone. No mirrors behind me. No windows, just a blank wall. I deleted the app, but it didn't stop. Next time I took a selfie using the regular camera app, no filters, it was there again. Different angle, still over my shoulder, closer this time. I compared it to the previous image. Same figure, same slouch, just closer. I started scrolling back through my gallery. Old photos, ones from before the app, ones I hadn't looked at in years. And I saw it again. Not in every photo, but most. Sometimes it was almost invisible, a faint distortion in the background. Sometimes it was clear, standing in shadow, part of the environment. Once I found it in a picture from my trip to Italy, standing in the doorway of a cathedral just behind the column. Same posture, same silhouette. I was 27 then. That meant it had been there for years. My chest tightened. I checked every selfie I'd ever taken, dozens of them. And in nearly every one, some version of it. Sometimes distant, sometimes so close its outline was nearly merged with mine. I called Casey again. "Can you come over?" I asked. She arrived that evening, bringing her laptop, some external drives. We laid everything out, every photo, every version. Her face grew paler the deeper we went. "It's not in pictures other people take of you," she said. "What I looked through my phone, group photos, stuff I took of you, it's not there, only your selfies." I didn't say anything. She looked at me. "Have you noticed anything else weird?" I hesitated. "Sometimes I feel watched." That's vague. In the shower, when I sleep, I keep thinking I hear breathing. She tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. That night, I dreamed about it. I was standing in a dark room, phone in hand. Took a selfie, looked at it, it was standing behind me, hands on my shoulders. I turned around in the dream. Nothing. But when I looked back at the phone, the figure's face was visible, and it looked like mine. I woke up gasping. Checked my phone, new photo in my gallery, time-stamped 3:14 a.m. I don't remember taking it, but it was me in bed, eyes closed, and just behind me, barely illuminated by the glow of the screen, was the figure. Closer than ever. I called Casey. She came over again. We ran malware scans. Checked the phone for remote access. Nothing. "No apps have permission to access the camera during sleep," she said. "Nothing weird in the logs." I tried factory resetting the phone. Didn't help. The next selfie I took, just to test, had the figure again. This time, only half its face was showing, and it looked familiar. Not quite mine, but not a stranger's. Almost like someone trying to be me. That's when I stopped taking photos, deleted all my apps, covered the front camera with tape. Didn't help. New photo appeared the next morning, taken at 4:03 a.m. Caption, "Closer." I never saw the figure move, but it was always closer. I moved apartments, didn't tell anyone the address, no Wi-Fi, new phone, no cloud. 3 nights later, photo showed up, this time no caption, but the background gave it away. My new place, living room, taken from the kitchen. I sat on the couch in the image, sleeping, mouth slightly open. And behind me, the figure was standing, right next to the couch, staring down. I printed the photo, showed it to Casey. She backed away when she saw it. Why are its fingers like that? I looked closer. The figure's hand was resting on my shoulder, but the fingers were too long, too many joints. She left in a hurry, didn't answer my texts for 2 days. I tried staying up, didn't sleep, sat on the couch with the lights on. At 4:04 a.m., phone buzzed. New photo. Me. Sleeping. Same position, same figure. Caption, "You can't stay awake forever." I screamed, tore the place apart, searched every inch. Nothing. Checked the vents, the closets, the crawl space. Nothing. Then I found something behind the bathroom mirror. A small lens, hidden, wired into the wall, connected to nothing, just embedded, not even power, but it had been watching or pretending to. I tore it out. Next morning, new photo, caption, "Nice try." This one was from above, like someone was on the ceiling, no camera up there, no trapdoor, but it saw me. Always saw me. I stopped going outside, stopped answering calls, just sat by the front door with a knife in my hand. 3 nights ago, I got the last photo. It wasn't a selfie, it was a photo of me taken from across the room. No caption. But the figure wasn't behind me anymore. It was in front. Smiling, not at the camera, at me, like it knew I was seeing it now. The timestamp read 3:33 a.m. I remember being awake then, but I never saw anyone. That night, I heard footsteps, light, slow, deliberate, right outside the bedroom door. Didn't open it, didn't sleep. When I finally blinked, it was morning. The photo was waiting. This time, the figure was gone, just me, alone in the room. But on my face, a smile. I don't remember smiling, don't remember anything. That was the last photo. No new one since, but last night I took a selfie again, just to see. No figure, no background distortion, just me, except my eyes weren't right, and I was smiling again, the exact same smile, and my fingers too long. The first time I noticed the silhouette was the night I moved into my new apartment. I'd just finished dragging the last of the boxes into the living room, poured myself a warm beer from the fridge that hadn't had time to chill, and collapsed onto the couch. It was a 10th floor unit in a tired old building, one of those 1970s concrete rectangles on the edge of the city's historic district. The rent was cheap. Too cheap, probably, but I was coming off a bad breakup and didn't ask too many questions. The apartment faced west, and across the narrow alley was another building, a few stories taller, empty office space that had been for sale for years. I remembered thinking how lucky I was that it blocked the sunset. I didn't want sun in my face every evening. Then I saw it. A figure on the rooftop. It was standing still, perfectly still, facing my building. Just a dark outline. Broad shoulders, narrow frame, arms by its side. It was too far away to make out details, but it looked like a man. I stared for maybe 5 minutes, waiting for it to move. It didn't. Eventually, I laughed to myself, probably just a ventilation pipe or some antenna. But the next night, it was there again, exactly the same position, and the night after that, and the one after that, always standing in the same spot at the same time, just before sunset, facing my unit. I started closing the blinds, but every night I'd check. Still there, I asked the super about the building across the alley. Used to be an accounting firm, he said. Empty for years, no tenants, no maintenance. No security? He shrugged. Not that I know of. Why? No reason. I didn't want to sound crazy, but it was starting to get to me. One night, I tried to take a picture. My phone couldn't capture it, just a blurry mess of pixels and low-light smudge. So I bought binoculars, set them up on a tripod by the window, right behind the blinds. Next evening, just after 6, I peeked through them. The figure was clearer now. Definitely a person. Male. Dark coat hat. Short hair. Pale skin. He was standing perfectly upright, arms still at his sides, his face pointed directly at my window. I stepped back from the blinds, heart pounding. It wasn't a statue. It wasn't a trick of light. It was a man, and he was watching me. I stayed away from the window that night, but I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined him there, watching, waiting. The next day, I went to the building across the alley, found the old side entrance, chained shut. I walked around back, found a fence, and hopped over. The fire escape creaked as I climbed. 10 floors up, wind slicing through my jacket. The rooftop was empty, just gravel, a few HVAC units, and some broken antenna mounts. No man, no sign anyone had been there. I walked to the spot directly across from my apartment window. Nothing. When I turned around to leave, I saw something scratched into the rooftop access door. Just one word, Look, I left quickly. That night, I didn't look, didn't open the blinds, but at 6:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, no words, just a photo, taken from the rooftop of my window. Me, in silhouette behind the blinds. Caption, why aren't you watching back? I moved the next day. Different part of the city, 6th floor. View of a park instead of buildings. First week, no issues. Second week, I noticed something strange. The building across the street, an old schoolhouse converted into condos, had a flat roof, and someone was standing on it. Far away, blurry, but still, facing me. I closed the blinds, I didn't open them again for 2 days. Then I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside, a photo, taken from above, of my building, my window. Handwritten on the back, you moved, so did I. I called the police, filed a report, showed them the photos. They took them seriously, or at least pretended to, promised to increase patrols in the area. But that night the rooftop was empty. I started to relax, until the emails began. Every night at 6:03 p.m., 1 photo per day. Always of me, in the kitchen, on the couch, sleeping. Angles that didn't make sense, too high, too close, too perfect. I scoured the apartment for hidden cameras, nothing. I changed my Wi-Fi password, installed jammers. Still got the photos. One morning, I received an envelope slipped under the door. Inside, a single Polaroid of me, taken from outside the building. Caption, I never left the roof. I ran to the window. The rooftop across the street was empty. But when I looked at the image again, I realized the timestamp on the Polaroid was the previous night, 6:03 p.m. At the exact moment I was staring at the roof, someone else was watching me, and he was closer than I thought. I started checking the other rooftops. Across the street, behind the building, diagonal corners, everywhere. Different figure every night, same silhouette, same posture, always at 6:03 p.m. I changed apartments again, this time suburban duplex, no tall buildings nearby, just trees and one-story homes. I bought blackout curtains, cameras, alarms. For a week, I didn't look outside, didn't check the cameras, didn't go near the windows. Then, one night, the alarm went off. Motion detected on the roof. I checked the camera feed. A shape, standing on my roof, not facing me, facing the neighbor's house. I looked outside. The neighbor's window was open, their lights were on, and inside a man, young, early 30s, stood frozen, staring out his window. At me. Behind him on his roof, another silhouette, facing him, facing away from me now. I ran outside, shouted at the neighbor. He didn't hear, didn't move, just kept watching. And then so did I. We both stood there in separate houses, staring across rooftops at the figures that watched us. Each of us being watched, each of us watching someone else. That was a week ago. I haven't left the house since. And every evening at 6:03 p.m. I see a silhouette on a rooftop I didn't know existed. It's further away now, but always facing me. I tried not looking, tried blocking it out. But the photos started coming again. Now they're not just of me. They're of others. Neighbors, pedestrians, a kid walking a dog. And in each photo, the silhouette is there, somewhere, watching. Always at 6:03. Tonight I found something else. Scratched into the inside of my window frame. You're next. I don't know what that means. But the silhouette was closer tonight. One rooftop closer. The first photo showed up in a group chat. Nothing alarming, just a blurry image of me, mouth slightly open, hair a mess, half buried in my pillow. The kind of embarrassing sleep shot people take of their friends during road trips or passed out parties. Only I was home, alone. The message came from an unknown number, no contact name, just a single line under the image, you sleep like a baby. I stared at the screen, heart slowing down as it registered. The sheets were mine. The pillowcase with the stupid little foxes, mine. Even the dent in the wall behind the headboard where I once dropped a lamp. But I'd been asleep all night. My apartment's locked from the inside, deadbolt and chain, no roommates, no guests. I tried tracing the number. Burner, no luck. I deleted the message. Next night, I barely slept. Nothing happened. I told myself it was a prank, wrong number. Maybe some weird old photo from a party I forgot. Then came the second image. This one was clearer, taken from a lower angle, closer. You could see the corner of my eye half open, the rise of my chest under the blanket, time-stamped at 3:12 a.m. The message said, you twitched a little, almost woke up. I checked my apartment. Closets, under the bed, kitchen cupboards, nothing. Every door locked. I set up a camera that night, an old DSLR on a tripod aimed at the bed. Not a live stream, just continuous shot every 30 seconds, stored on SD. Next morning, I reviewed the footage, hours of stillness. Then at 3:12 a.m., exactly the same timestamp as the message, the image blurred slightly, just enough to suggest movement. A figure on the far edge of the frame, unclear, half in shadow. The next frame, empty. But on the bed, my blanket was slightly shifted. Not dramatic, but different from the shot before. That day, I called the building super, asked about break-ins, maintenance access, anything. He shook his head. Doors and windows sealed, no reports. I bought more locks, changed them all. Next photo came 3 days later. This one was wrong. It wasn't just a photo, it was a live photo. Those little Apple animations that capture a few seconds of motion. In it, I stirred slightly, and something moved behind me. Not a person. Not really. A silhouette in the shape of a man, but too tall. Shoulders sloped forward like an insect standing on 2 legs. It shifted once, then darted out of frame. No message this time. Just the file name, IMG044 Redo. I didn't open my curtains that day. Didn't leave the bed. I started sleeping in the closet. Cramped, but out of sight. First night in the closet, no photos. Second night, no photos. Third night, I woke to a soft knock. 3 slow taps, from inside the room. Not the front door, not the wall, inside. Then my phone buzzed. A new photo. Me, curled in the closet. Camera angle from the bed. Caption, "You moved, clever." I threw up in the sink. That morning, I called my brother, told him something vague, stalker, weird messages. He offered to let me crash at his place a few towns over. I left that afternoon. His place was a guest house, detached from the main home. Quiet, safe, surrounded by woods. First night there, I finally slept. No messages. Next morning, nothing. Second night, still fine. Third night, 3:11 a.m., phone buzzed. Photo. Not of me, of the house, taken from the tree line. Caption, "This one's pretty." I bolted upright, ran to the window, scanned the woods. Nothing. My brother called from the main house. "You okay? Lights just flicked off in here for a sec." I said I was fine. Lied. The next morning, I packed my bags, found a motel an hour away. Didn't tell anyone where I was going. No online check-in. Paid in cash, I slept with the phone off. Woke up, turned it on. Photo waiting. Me again. But closer now. Framed from above. The light above the bed casting soft shadow across my face. But I'd locked the door, blocked the vents, checked under the bed. I began to notice something else. In each photo, a pattern. Reflections, always a small one, in the TV screen, in the window, in my eye. The figure, never centered, never clear, but always there. I zoomed in on the latest. The shadow in the reflection had a shape now, wearing something. A mask, maybe. Pale and smooth, no features but human-sized. Each photo, it got closer. I tried to contact police again. They took a report, checked the motel, no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints. Suggested I see a psychiatrist. That night, I slept in the tub. Curtain closed, lights on. Photo came at 3:12 a.m. Caption, "Tired yet?" I checked the room. No cameras, no bugs, but the faucet had moved, just slightly. Turned 10 degrees, like someone had been there, watching, waiting. I left the motel, went home, figured I couldn't outrun it. I set up 5 cameras this time. Tripwires, glass under the windows. I even recorded audio all night. Nothing tripped, no movement on video. But at 3:12 a.m., the audio picked up a breath. One long inhale, one short exhale, then a whisper, almost there. The photo that morning? Blanket pulled to my chin and a hand resting gently on my shoulder. Pale, thin, fingers too long. My shoulder was sore, bruised, the skin slightly indented. I didn't tell anyone, didn't leave the house, didn't sleep. Stayed up 3 nights, no photos. 4th night, I nodded off, 10 minutes max. Photo arrived. Caption, "Gotcha. That was yesterday. Tonight, I'm setting every light in the apartment, leaving the door unlocked, camera on live stream. If it comes again, I want someone to see, want someone to believe." It's 2:58 a.m. now. I'm waiting. Phone by my side, curtains open, eyes wide. I used to start every morning the same way. Alarm at 6:45, shower, coffee, sit down at my desk by the window and open my inbox. It's a simple ritual, one I've kept since I started freelancing full-time. Most days, it's filled with the usual. Project briefs, invoices, reminders from apps I never use. But about 2 months ago, I started getting a new email, always from the same address. No reply at your log. Today, subject line, your daily summary. At first, I thought it was one of those automated wellness newsletters, the kind that tracks your steps or reminds you to meditate. But when I opened it, I froze. The email described my previous day in excruciating detail. The first one read, Monday, March 4th, personal activity summary. Woke at 6:47 a.m., brushed teeth for 1 minute, 49 seconds, drank black coffee, 1.5 cups, worked on Spire Tech branding deck. From 8:12 a.m. to 11:36 a.m., browsed Reddit for 14 minutes, 3 subreddits r/no sleep, r/oddly satisfying, r/mildly infuriating. 8 instant noodles for lunch, called mom at 2:21 p.m. Duration, 6 min, 32 sec. Took a 34-minute nap, watched The Stranger, episode 3, slept at 12:03 a.m., end of log. I read it twice, blinking. It was accurate, to the minute, but I had never signed up for any tracking service. I checked my laptop, no suspicious apps, no new extensions. I checked my phone, thinking maybe some calendar sync was leaking details. Nothing. I figured maybe it was some creepy AI scraping my data. It happens. But the next day, the email came again. Tuesday, March 5th, personal activity summary. Woke at 6:45 a.m., opened inbox at 7:01 a.m. Read yesterday's daily summary, Googled, email tracks my daily activity, drank black coffee, 25 cups, opened work doc, stared at screen without typing for 46 minutes, walked in circles while pacing, ate leftover pizza, cold, avoided phone call from Mia at 3:14 p.m., rewatched The Stranger, episode 2, slept at 12:18 a.m., end of log. Again, every detail was correct, even things I didn't consciously register, like the exact cup count of coffee, or the 46-minute work freeze. And how did it know I'd rewatched episode 2? I didn't tell anyone. Not at first, because honestly I wasn't sure anyone would believe me, but I kept getting the emails. Every morning, 7:01 a.m. sharp. Sometimes they were dry and mechanical, other times they had tone. Judgment, almost. One said, Thursday, March 7th, personal activity summary. 5 hours, 12 minutes of total screen time, 0 minutes spent outdoors, 1 ignored phone call from dad. You cried briefly at 11:37 p.m. Duration, 3 minutes, slept at 1:02 a.m. Dream, uncertain, fragmented, possibly involved water. End of log. That night, I had cried. Just a short burst, nothing huge. But how could it have known? The dream part scared me most. I didn't even remember the dream clearly. Still, the next morning, the log mentioned it again. Dream, similar themes, still unresolved. I started keeping a dream journal. The logs matched it. Not word for word, but close enough. It became an obsession. Every morning, I'd wake up dreading the email. Not because I didn't want to know, but because it always knew more than I did. I tried ignoring it, didn't open the email one morning. The next day, the summary included, chose to avoid log, spent day in vague anxiety, slept poorly. I started noticing changes in the writing. It became more familiar, less robotic, like someone was watching me. Not a system, a person. 3 weeks in, the summary ended with, you're starting to understand. That's good. That day, I smashed my phone, reinstalled my OS, bought a new router, the email still came, I set up filters, deleted it automatically, still arrived, not in the spam folder, right in the primary inbox. I sent replies. Who are you? Stop this, how are you doing this? No answer. Then one morning, a different kind of email. Subject line, preview, tomorrow. My chest tightened as I opened it. Wednesday, April 3rd, predicted activity summary. Wake at 6:46 a.m., stare at inbox for 4 minutes, panic for 7 minutes, spill coffee at 7:13 a.m., call Mia, no answer. Search, predictive algorithm surveillance, refuse to leave apartment, cry again, 8 minutes this time. Read this email again at 9:46 a.m., try to break mirror. Cut palm, minor injury. Watch The Stranger finale, sleep at 12:39 a.m., end of preview. I was paralyzed. It was 6:40 when I read it. I did nothing, refused to move, watched the clock tick past 6:46, didn't panic, didn't touch coffee, didn't call anyone, didn't even read the email again. But when I checked the next morning, Wednesday, April 3rd, personal activities summary. Woke at 6:45 a.m., refused prediction, spent 3 hours frozen in chair, didn't drink coffee, didn't call Mia, avoided all action, tried to trick the log, still failed, slept at 12:39 a.m., end of log. It was like it knew I'd resist. The tone changed after that, more confident, playful even. One morning, you wore the red hoodie. I told you not to. I hadn't received any instruction, but it was right. I had worn red. Then, you think you're clever, but I'm not reading your life. I'm writing it. I stopped leaving the apartment, ordered groceries, shut the blinds, didn't speak to anyone. But the logs got more detailed, started describing things I thought, not did. You considered deleting this email, you won't. You thought of Mia again. You miss her fingers on your hair. I hadn't spoken to Mia in months. We broke up before the emails started. But the log described a memory I hadn't told anyone. A night on the balcony, her hand in my hair, rain on the railing. I went through every file on my computer, looked for spyware, keyloggers, nothing. Then I got a new kind of email. Subject line, correction. Friday, April 12th, correction to previous summary. You did not sleep at 1:17 a.m. You were awake, you were being watched, you didn't hear the breathing behind the door. You will tonight. End of correction. I stared at my bedroom door all night, didn't hear anything, didn't sleep. But the next day, Saturday, April 13th, personal activity summary. Remained awake all night, paranoia increasing, opened closet at 3:27 a.m., found nothing. That's not when it was there. Slept at 5:14 a.m., watched by subject at 5:22 a.m. Subject left at 5:24 a.m. End of log. Subject? Who? That's when I started hearing the clicks. Tiny ones. From the vents, like a tongue-tapping plastic. They always came around 5 a.m. I emailed the address. I know you're in the house. No reply. Until the next day. Sunday, April 14th. Personal activity summary. You emailed us. You are correct. Please stop looking. The watching will continue. End of log. I bought cameras. Set them up in every room. Nothing. Motion sensors? Nothing. Then one night I woke up gasping, breathing fast. The closet was open, and my laptop was on. The email had sent itself. A draft with the subject, confession, body empty. I closed it. The next morning's log said, woke from dreamless sleep. Closet opened at 3:44 a.m. Laptop accessed by other. Draft titled confession. You intervened. You shouldn't have. I lost it. Left the apartment, slept in my car, didn't go back, checked email from a gas station. Wi-Fi, still there, still updated. You slept in your car, it's colder than expected. You won't last. Then a final message. Initiation complete. You've graduated. This is not a summary, this is now a script. Tomorrow, you go home. Tomorrow, you let it in. Tomorrow, you will become the writer. I smashed the laptop, threw the phone into a storm drain, got in my car, and drove until the signal dropped. I live off the grid now. No devices, no clocks. But I still wake up at 7:01 a.m., still feel watched, still hear a whisper from the closet. You forgot the final log. My name is Evan, and I take the 7:41 a.m. train every morning from Fairfield Station into the city. It's a quiet, mundane routine. Same time, same car, same faces. I'm not a particularly social commuter. I keep to myself, headphones in, always in the same seat. Third car from the front, left side, window seat. Just enough time for coffee, one chapter of whatever thriller I'm reading, and then straight into the office by 8:30. This all started about 6 weeks ago. The first time I noticed him, I didn't think anything of it. Just another passenger. Tall guy, mid-30s maybe, clean-shaven, slightly lanky build, black coat, black scarf, messenger bag slung across his shoulder. He boarded at the same stop as me. Sat across the aisle, one row up. I remember because he dropped his bag a little too hard and muttered sorry without making eye contact. Same kind of reserved energy I had. The second time I noticed him was a few days later. Same man. Same coat, same bag, same seat. He didn't have a book. Just stared ahead, hands folded, blinking slowly. Over the next week, I saw him every single morning. Same car, same place. At first, it was just background noise. Passengers blur together unless they make themselves known. But he stood out because he was so quiet. Never read, never looked at his phone, never drank coffee, just sat. I assumed he worked near me, had the same route. But then I began noticing something else. He was dressing like me. At first it was small. I wore a gray wool peacoat on Monday. He wore something similar on Tuesday. I had navy slacks. So did he the next day. Then it got specific. I wore a red and black plaid scarf one morning. He wore an identical one the following day. Exact pattern. Same brand. I recognized the label. It wasn't just clothing. He started carrying the same messenger bag, then the same brand of earbuds, same color, same cord length. He even mimicked my morning ritual. I sip coffee from a thermos, flip open a paperback, and read. On Thursday, he brought a thermos. On Friday, he opened a paperback. I couldn't see the title, but it was the same shade of blue as mine. I told myself it was coincidence, parallel taste, urban mimicry, until I saw his reflection. It was a Friday, early February. The train was pulling into Grand Central, and I caught sight of him in the window as we passed under a tunnel light. He wasn't reading. He was watching me. His eyes didn't move away fast enough. We locked gazes through the glass just for a split second, and I swear his expression was blank. Not embarrassed, not casual, just cold. Like I wasn't a person to him, just an object he was replicating. That weekend, I convinced myself I was being paranoid. The city's full of people who look alike. Maybe he had a similar style. Maybe I was imagining the details. But when I got back on the train Monday morning, he was there again. This time, he wore the exact outfit I had worn the previous Wednesday, down to the scuffed leather shoes I'd bought on sale last fall. It was no longer a coincidence. It was deliberate. I snapped a photo, tried to make it look casual, sent it to my friend Lucas, who worked 2 stops down. "Creepy twin on your train," he joked. "No, he's copying me, day by day." Lucas laughed it off. "Maybe you're just an influencer and don't know it." But I knew. The mimicry became more aggressive. He started boarding the car just seconds after me, always watching where I sat. If I changed seats, so did he. I started testing it. One morning, I sat in a completely different car. Didn't even bring my usual bag. He found me. 2 stops later, slid into the row behind me. No book, no phone, just silence. The next day, he wore the same jacket I had worn the day I switched cars. That night, I couldn't sleep. I dreamt I was on the train, but all the passengers were me. Rows and rows of myself, reading, drinking coffee, staring. I woke up drenched in sweat. I decided to confront him. The following morning, I waited until the train was nearly empty. We were 10 minutes from the terminal. He was across from me, pretending to read. I leaned forward. "Hey," I said quietly. He didn't look up. "I know what you're doing." His eyes lifted slowly. Still that same blankness, unblinking, as if I was interrupting something sacred. "You need to stop," I said. "It's not funny. It's not harmless." He tilted his head slightly. Then, in a voice that mimicked mine perfectly, he said, "I like the way you fit." I stared at him. "What?" He smiled. My smile, down to the slight dimple on the left side. "I'm almost done," he said. I stood up, walked to the conductor's car, reported a possible impersonator. By the time we reached the station, he was gone. No sign of him on the platform, no video footage, no one else remembered seeing him. The conductor said, "You were sitting alone, sir." I knew better. That night, I went through my closet, threw out anything distinctive, changed my routine, took a later train. He wasn't there for 3 days. Then Thursday, he returned. Dressed in my current outfit, he had predicted it. Same shirt, same jeans, same hat. But the worst part wasn't the clothing, it was the cut on his chin. I had nicked myself shaving that morning. A small red line just below my jaw. He had it too. Same angle, same spot. That night, I booked a car rental, took the highway instead. But the train's faster. I couldn't stay away long. The next week, I was back on the 741, no sign of him. I started to relax. Then, on a whim, I checked the mirror on the opposite side of the car, an old metal panel, scratched and dull. In the reflection, he was sitting behind me, smiling. Not at me, at the mirror, like he knew I'd look. I didn't turn around, just rode the train to work, palms sweating. At the station, I bolted into the crowd, didn't look back. That afternoon, I got a message, no number, just a Bluetooth ping on my phone. A file, image. JP, I opened it. It was a photo of me, on the train that morning, taken from behind. The timestamp matched the ride exactly. I called Lucas, told him everything. He offered to ride with me. Let's see this guy together. The next day, he sat next to me. We waited. The man never boarded. Lucas nudged me. Maybe he's shy. I shook my head. He's waiting. Waiting for what? I didn't know. We rode together for a week. Nothing happened. Lucas couldn't ride Monday, so I went alone, and there he was. Not across from me, not behind, sitting in my seat, holding my bag, reading the book I had abandoned at home the night before. He looked up, nodded, then said, "Found a better fit." I backed away, found another car, rode in silence. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I didn't sleep. I started searching for similar cases. Reddit, forums, deep web threads. Found 2, both mentioned mimics. One said, "They don't kill, they replace. You'll still be here, just watching." Another said, "They wear you from the outside in. They only stop when you stop being interesting." I bought new clothes, changed my gait, grew a beard. He copied the beard in 2 days. I shaved it. So did he. On Friday, I boarded the train with Lucas again. He wasn't there. I thought I'd won, until I checked the window. In the reflection, I saw myself. But I wasn't smiling. He was. I moved into this house last fall, mid-October, after the divorce. It's a small 2-story in a quiet cul-de-sac not far from the elementary school where I teach. White siding, crooked mailbox, a big maple tree that dumps a blanket of leaves onto the front lawn every week. The house was old but solid. I liked the porch. I liked the light. At night, a single street lamp stood just past the edge of my driveway. It gave off a soft yellow glow, warm, almost comforting. I'd sit on the porch with a beer and just watch it, especially in those early weeks when the silence of the house pressed in on me too tightly. The first time I noticed the flickering was the night I moved in. I was dragging boxes into the living room when I caught it out of the corner of my eye. A stutter in the light. Just a quick blink. I turned to look, and it was steady again. "Old bulb," I muttered. I asked the neighbors about it the next day, mostly as a way to introduce myself. Mr. Patterson across the street said it had always done that. "City's been meaning to fix it for years," he said. "They come out, change the bulb, works fine for a week, then right back to blinking." It didn't bother me. If anything, I liked the way it looked, made the street feel lived in. But about 3 weeks later, I started noticing something odd. The light didn't flicker randomly. It flickered when I looked at it. At first, I dismissed it. Coincidence. Timing. But the pattern became unmistakable. I'd be inside the house, glance out the front window, and right then, blink. Flicker. Just once. Sometimes I'd test it. I'd stand in the hallway, count to 10 with my eyes closed, then peek out the corner of the curtain. Flicker. I tried ignoring it. Figured maybe it was just one of those tricks of perception. You know, like when your eyes adapt to subtle motion or you expect to see something so your brain obliges. But then it started flickering more than once. 3 quick blinks, 1 long pause, then another blink. The pattern felt deliberate, like Morse code. That's when I started writing it down. I'd sit by the window with a notebook, watching the light. When it blinked, I marked the sequence. It was always the same, 3 short, 1 long, 1 short. I looked up Morse code. The pattern matched the letter V. I thought it was weird, unsettling, but I didn't know what to do with that information. Maybe it was a coincidence, maybe the circuitry was faulty and just happened to mimic Morse. But once I recognized the V, the pattern began to evolve. The following night, it blinked, VE, then VER, then VERY. Every night, 1 more letter, until finally, 1 week later, it spelled very close. I stared at the page for a long time, heart racing. What the hell did that mean? Close to what? Or to who? The next night, it stopped blinking altogether. No flicker, no code, just the soft, steady glow of the old bulb. I felt relief at first, until I noticed something else. The bulb had been replaced. The color was different, whiter, colder, not the warm yellow I'd gotten used to, and it didn't buzz. I walked outside, approached the pole. There was no sign of maintenance, no tag, no sticker, nothing to suggest the city had done work. I looked up. The light turned off. I jumped back, stumbling. Then it came on again, steady. I ran inside and shut the door. I didn't sleep well that night. The next morning, I found something on my porch, a note, folded twice, no envelope. My name was written on the front in shaky block letters. Inside, just 2 words, "You saw." I called the police. They came, took the note, asked the usual questions. No signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, no footage from the old camera mounted on the lamppost. It hadn't worked in years, apparently. They said it was probably a prank. Teenagers, the officer offered. "You're new here, right?" Sometimes kids mess with the newbies. But the handwriting didn't look like a kid's. It looked old, uneven, like someone who hadn't written in a long time. I bought a floodlight the next day, mounted it on the porch, installed motion detectors, a Ring camera, even replaced the locks. But the flickering didn't stop. Only now, it wasn't just outside. I started noticing lights inside the house behaving strangely. The hallway lamp would dim when I passed. The bathroom mirror light would stutter, then go out, only to come back when I left the room. I called an electrician. He checked the wiring. Everything was fine. Said the place had good bones. I didn't tell him about the blinking code. Didn't tell anyone, really. But I started to notice something else. Every time the lights flickered, I felt watched. It wasn't just a feeling. I began hearing sounds, a faint creak upstairs, a whisper when I was half asleep, a shadow in the hallway mirror that didn't match my movement. One night, I set up my phone on a tripod, facing the living room window, to film the street lamp. I let it run from midnight to 4 a.m. When I watched the footage, I saw the flicker again, only once, at 3:17 a.m. But the real shock came when I paused the video. For exactly 4 frames, something moved across the yard. A shape, tall, thin, too fast for a person. It passed directly under the street lamp. And in that split second, the light blinked the pattern again. I zoomed in, enhanced the frame as best I could. The figure had no face. Just a blank surface, reflective like glass or polished bone. It looked directly at the camera, and then it was gone. I didn't leave the house for 2 days. Called in sick, closed the blinds, slept during the day. That night I was jolted awake by the porch light turning on. Motion detected, my phone buzzed, ring notification. I opened the app, the camera feed showed the porch, empty. Then movement at the edge of the frame, a hand. Long fingers, sliding across the window glass. I screamed, ran downstairs, baseball bat in hand. No one there, no footprints in the frost. But the light at the street flickered once. Then again. Then a long blink. I checked the code, it spelled in. I left that night. Went to a motel, didn't sleep. The next morning I returned with 2 friends, co-workers from school. I didn't explain everything, just said I thought someone had been trying to break in. We searched the house top to bottom. Nothing, no forced entry, no broken windows. But in the upstairs bedroom, my friend Paul found something behind the dresser. A panel, hinged. When we opened it, we found a narrow crawl space. Inside, a blanket, a cracked phone, and a notebook. The notebook was filled with handwriting, repeated lines. He sees me, I blink, and he sees. The light tells him where I am. Don't look at the light, it looks back. I brought it to Vasquez, the same officer from before. She took it seriously this time. Ordered forensic testing, had the crawl space sealed. But I never stayed another night in that house. I moved in with my sister while looking for a new place. The flickering stopped until last night, outside my sister's house, a different neighborhood, different city, new street lamp, freshly installed. I looked out the window, and it blinked. 3 short, 1 long, 1 short. I closed the curtain, but in the reflection on the glass I saw it again, a tall figure, standing under the light, looking up at the window, looking at me, and then the light went out. It started with a phone call from the school. Nothing urgent, at least it didn't sound that way. The secretary's voice was calm, almost bored, when she asked, "Hi, Mr. Riley, just confirming, did you pick up Emily today around 1:45? I blinked at the time. What? No, she's supposed to stay until 3. A brief pause on the other end. Oh, that's strange. Someone signed her out, said you were leaving early for a family trip. They had your name and Emily seemed to recognize them, so we didn't think to question it. My stomach sank. Wait, what do you mean someone? Who signed her out? One moment. Let me check. I stood up from my desk. My office was quiet, just the soft hum of the AC and the buzz of fluorescent lights overhead. I'd been there all day. I hadn't left. I hadn't authorized anyone. When the voice returned, it sounded less casual. The name written down is yours. Signature, too. It matches what we have on file. My signature? My voice cracked. Yes, and Emily left with him willingly. She didn't seem upset. I hung up, heart pounding. I tried calling Emily's phone, straight to voicemail. Next, I called my ex-wife, Melissa. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, what's up? Is Emily with you? No, she's at school. No, she's not. Someone picked her up. They said it was me. There was a beat of silence. Tell me you're joking. I'm on my way there now. I'm meeting you. We arrived at the school 10 minutes apart. The principal met us at the front office. She looked pale, anxious. We're reviewing the footage now. We were shown a still image first. The angle was from above the reception desk, grainy, slightly distorted. But the figure standing at the counter was unmistakable. It was me. Same build, same black jacket, same dark hair, short on the sides, a little longer on top, even the small mole under my left eye. That's not me, I said immediately. Melissa stared at the image. What the hell is going on? The security footage showed me waiting by the front doors. Emily ran up and hugged him. They walked out together. She wasn't coerced. She looked happy, relaxed. I need a copy of this, I told the principal. Within an hour, we were talking to Detective Vasquez, the lead investigator. She was efficient, focused, early 40s with sharp eyes and short-cropped hair. She asked the same question in 3 different ways, carefully watching my reactions. Any enemies? Custody disputes? Someone with a reason to impersonate you? No, Melissa and I share custody. There's never been a dispute. A twin? No. Someone who could have studied you, watched your movements? I hesitated. I mean, anyone could have, but why? Later that evening, the detective called. They'd pulled footage from a nearby traffic cam. At 1:52 p.m., a dark blue sedan exited the school parking lot. The license plate was blurred, but the driver's face was visible for half a second. It was me again. I stared at the still image on the screen. I was in my office, I swear. "I believe you," Vasquez said. "We've confirmed your location through your employer. You were inside from 8:02 a.m. to 5:34 p.m. The GPS on your phone, your access card, everything matches. Then who the hell is this?" That's what we're going to find out. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered into Emily's room. Her drawings were still taped to the walls. One showed us holding hands in front of a cartoon sun. In crayon above our heads, "Best Dad." I sank onto her bed and stared at the ceiling. Around 11:23, her phone vibrated on her nightstand. I picked it up. A message from a contact labeled "Dad." "I'm sorry about earlier. I'll explain soon. Don't be scared. I love you." Timestamp, 11:22 p.m. I stared at the screen. My fingers went numb. I opened the thread. There were dozens of messages, all recent, conversations, reminders, jokes, photos, none of them from me. The earliest one was from 3 weeks ago. "Hey, changed my number. Save this one." That's how it started. She had no reason not to believe it. The messages used my language, my style. They talked about things we did together. Inside jokes, even the nickname only I used for her, Bug. I never told anyone else about that. Not Melissa. Not my parents. This person knew. The next day, Vasquez had the phone analyzed. The number was a prepaid burner, purchased 2 counties over, paid in cash. Untraceable. But the messages confirmed what we feared. Someone had been pretending to be me, studying me. Emily returned 3 days later. She was found wandering along a rural road 40 miles away. Muddy shoes, tired, silent. She didn't remember much. Said she'd been in a car, then a house. Said I was there, that we watched movies, ate cereal. But when I said it wasn't me, she nodded slowly. "I know now." She didn't sleep alone after that. Refused to let anyone else near her unless I was present. Her therapist suggested drawing. She drew a house in the woods. No windows, 1 door. She drew me. Jacket, jeans, same haircut. But the eyes were wrong. Big, black, hollow. "Why did you go with him?" the therapist asked gently. Emily looked down. He knew everything. A week passed. We installed security cameras, hired a private guard. Melissa moved in temporarily. Emily slept in our room on a cot by the bed. For a while, it was quiet. Then one night, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a photo, printed on glossy paper. Emily sleeping in her bed. The angle was from above, taken from the ceiling. We tore the room apart, checked vents, light fixtures, smoke detectors. Nothing. No camera, no wires, just the photo. 2 days later, a second package. Inside, an SD card. We viewed it on Vasquez's laptop. It contained a video, 23 seconds long. Emily, sitting at the kitchen table, eating cereal. The camera moved slightly as if handheld. Breathing could be heard. My voice. Such a good girl. But it wasn't my voice exactly. Close. Too close. The intonation was off. Too flat. Like someone mimicking me without fully understanding cadence. Vasquez looked up, eyes sharp. "You ever record your voice online?" "Maybe. Voicemail greetings, a few work videos. But this..." She nodded slowly. "It's learning." We moved houses. Again, new city, new numbers, different car. We changed everything. But the photos didn't stop. Every few weeks, a new envelope. Always unmarked. Always Emily. Sometimes sleeping. Sometimes brushing her teeth. Once at school recess, captured mid-laugh. The angles were impossible. Above, below, inside. And in every image, a shadow. A reflection. A faint silhouette in glass or metal. Me. Watching. One night, our doorbell rang at 3:14 a.m. The motion alert came through my phone. Facial match, 98%, subject you. I opened the live feed. There he was, standing at the end of our driveway. Same clothes, same face. He looked into the camera, smiled, and waved. By the time the police arrived, he was gone. The next day, Vasquez called. We've reviewed the footage. We think he's using facial prosthetics. Deep fake masks are becoming more convincing. But how would he know everything? My voice, my habits, Emily's nickname? We don't know. She paused. There's one more thing. What? We ran biometric analysis on the footage, the gait, the movements. It's not just similar. What do you mean? She hesitated. It's a 100% match to your physical profile. Exact posture, stride, blink rate, like it is you. That's not possible. She didn't answer. Weeks passed. Emily tried to go back to school. One afternoon, her teacher called. She says you came to visit during recess, but we didn't see you. And the camera footage, there's someone in the background watching from the fence. They sent the image. It was him again. He changed clothes, sunglasses. But it was still my face. I sat Emily down that night. Bug, I said, you need to stay near adults at all times, even if you think it's me. She nodded slowly. I know. I'll never pick you up without telling you in advance. You understand? Yes. She paused. But what if it is you? My heart twisted. If you ever feel unsure, ask me something only I'd know. Like what? I thought for a moment. Where were we when I taught you to skip rocks? Her eyes lit up faintly. Lake Delaney, near the bridge. Exactly. Ask that question, okay? Okay. That weekend I got an email. No subject, one attachment, a video. It was me, sitting in front of a mirror, smiling, silent. But something was off. The smile was too wide, the eyes didn't blink. In the reflection, the background was different. Wrong. Instead of our house, it showed a room I didn't recognize. Wooden walls, a single light overhead, and in the corner, a figure. Emily, asleep. I screamed. Melissa ran into the room. I showed her. By the time she looked, the video had disappeared. Gone. No trace. We called Vasquez. They searched the metadata. No file, no source. Just gone. Do you think he's coming back? I asked. She didn't answer. That night I sat up in Emily's room, watched her breathe, and for a moment, in the reflection of her window, I thought I saw something behind me. Someone. I turned. Nothing. Only the sound of her slow, steady breath. But I don't think this is over. Not even close. Because today, Emily handed me a drawing. It's the two of us holding hands. Only, there are two versions of me. One is smiling, the other is watching. It started with a class photo. I was back in my hometown for a few days, helping my parents clean out their attic. They were downsizing, moving somewhere warmer. That's what you do when you're in your 60s, and the Midwest winter starts feeling more like a threat than a season. Among the dust-covered boxes and old board games was a manila envelope labeled middle school. Inside were class pictures, one for each grade. I smiled at the 5th grade one. My awkward bowl cut, the shirt with a giant NASA logo, the gap in my front teeth. Classic. I showed it to my mom. God, those bangs, she laughed, squinting. Wait, who's that? She pointed to the far right of the second row. A kid I didn't recognize. Pale, lanky, with neatly combed hair and wire-rimmed glasses, wearing a dark gray sweater with a single stripe across the chest. I frowned. No idea. Must have been a new kid. Mom looked again, longer this time. No, I don't remember him, and I was at every parent-teacher night. I flipped the photo over. On the back, the teacher had written the names in tidy cursive. Miss Delaney's 5th grade, 2003. I read through the names. There were 24 students listed, but 25 kids in the photo. There was no name for the kid in the gray sweater. That's what started it. That night, lying in my old room, I stared at the ceiling and tried to remember. 5th grade. I remembered most of the class clearly. Jared, who always brought sour candy and tried to trade it for lunch items. Emily, who sat behind me and always tapped her pencil during tests. Benji, my best friend at the time. But no gray sweater kid. No name, no memory. But he was there in the photo, clear as day. Not faded. Not ghostly. Just there. I took a picture of the photo with my phone and sent it to our old middle school group chat. It hadn't been used in years. Anyone remember this guy? I typed. A few responses came in an hour later. TF, who's that? Definitely not in our class. Did you Photoshop this, lol? I zoomed in on the photo. The kid looked completely ordinary. Bland, even. Brown hair, brown eyes, hands clasped in his lap. Not smiling, just watching the camera. Benji replied last. Dude, I think I remember him. Finally, I messaged him privately. Seriously, a few minutes passed, then, kind of, not his name, but that sweater. I remember that stripe. He sat by the windows near the pencil sharpener. Do you remember his name? No, but I think he was weird, quiet, always watching. Watching. I stared at the photo again. There was something about the kid's posture, too still, like he wasn't posing, like he didn't belong in the scene at all. I didn't sleep much that night. The next day, curiosity got the better of me. I drove to the school. It looked almost the same. New paint, new signs, but the layout hadn't changed. I asked if Miss Delaney still worked there. She'd retired 5 years ago, but the secretary was helpful. I can probably find your class records, she said. What year? 2003, 5th grade. She disappeared into a back room, came back 15 minutes later with a thin binder. Here we go. Delaney, 5th grade, 2003. 24 students. Want to see the list? I nodded. The names matched the ones on the back of the photo. 24, not 25. Do you have the class photo? I asked. She shook her head. We don't keep those. Maybe the yearbook? She pulled another binder. I flipped through, found the 5th grade section, and there it was, our class photo. Only this one had 24 kids. The gray sweater boy was missing, same layout, same row, same poses. But where he'd been, just a gap. The bench extended slightly longer than it should have, like it had been designed to hold someone who never arrived. I left feeling dizzy. When I got home, I compared the two photos. Mine, the original from the attic, had it. The school's yearbook version didn't. I sent both images to Benji. He replied instantly. Okay, TF, why are there two versions? I don't know, I typed. Did we ever talk to him? Another pause. Then I don't think anyone did. I don't think he talked. That night, I dreamed about the classroom, the desks, the dusty chalkboard, the sunlight pouring in through the window, and him, sitting alone by the pencil sharpener, hands folded, watching. He didn't blink. When I woke up, my phone was buzzing. It was Benji. Dude, I was going through my stuff. I found a notebook from middle school. Okay, there's a drawing in it of our class. Stick figures, but labeled. I drew it in 5th grade, and he's in it. He sent a photo, 25 figures, 25 names, and next to the stick figure by the windows, just one word, scrawled messily, Gray. I guess that was what I called him? Benji texted. I didn't respond. I was staring at the picture. The figure labeled Gray wasn't drawn like the others. It had no face, just a blank circle, and instead of a stick body, it was scribbled dark, heavy black lines, like a void. I called Benji. Do you remember anything else? He hesitated. I remember he used to be there in the morning, already sitting, but I never saw him walk in. And at the end of the day, I don't know, I never saw him leave. Did he talk to anyone? No, not even the teachers. I don't think they noticed him. We were silent for a while. Then he added, I think I saw him outside my window last night. I froze. I was up late, around 2. I looked outside, just instinct, I guess, and I saw someone standing across the street, pale, wearing a gray sweater. My skin crawled. Are you sure? No, but I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep either. The next day, I drove to Ms. Delaney's house. She lived just outside town, still had a mailbox with cartoon apples on it. She answered the door slowly. She was thinner than I remembered, her hair almost white. I explained who I was. Oh, of course, she said politely. I remember you. Nathan, right? I nodded. I had a question about our class, 5th grade. Her smile faltered. I found an old photo, 25 kids, but the records say 24. She hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in. The house smelled like old wood and dried flowers. She led me to the living room. I know who you're asking about, she said, sitting slowly. The boy in the gray sweater. My mouth went dry. You remember him? I remember, trying not to. She looked at her hands. He was just there. One morning. No enrollment forms, no parents, no file, but he was in a seat and none of us questioned it. Why not? She shook her head. It felt easier not to, like our minds just accepted him. I swallowed. What was his name? I don't know, I never called on him, never graded anything from him. He didn't speak. He never moved unless we looked away. What do you mean? If you watched him, he was still, but if you looked down or turned when you looked back, he'd be in a new position. I felt a cold knot forming in my chest. How long was he there? And I don't know, days, weeks, the year felt strange. I had headaches, the kids were tired all the time. She looked at me, eyes wet, and then one day he was gone, just gone. I left her house in a daze. That night I pulled out the photo again, looked at him, zoomed in, and for the first time I saw his eyes. Not just brown, not quite. There was something wrong with them. No light, no reflection, like holes cut in the image. I turned off my phone. I needed to sleep. I woke up at 2:17 a.m. My phone was buzzing, a message from an unknown number. Just an image, taken through a window, my bedroom window, and in the photo I was sleeping, and behind me, in the dark of the hallway, a figure, pale, wearing a gray sweater. I was 3 states away when I got the first notification. It was 11:42 p.m. I remember the exact time because I just climbed into the stiff, over-bleached sheets of my hotel bed, and my phone buzzed from the nightstand. The screen lit up with a banner from my home security app. Motion detected, front door camera. Now I travel for work, consulting for mid-tier tech firms, And I'm no stranger to security paranoia. I'd installed the camera 6 months earlier after a break-in scare in the neighborhood. It had decent motion detection, night vision, and, most importantly, a snapshot function that sent you still images whenever movement was recorded. I tapped the notification. The thumbnail took a second to load. Then it hit me like a gut punch. It was a photo of my front door. But what made my heart skip wasn't the door. It was what the camera saw through the small frosted window beside it, inside my house. In the dim light of my living room lamp, set to turn on at 10:30 automatically, I could see my couch, my bookshelf, and me, asleep. Lying on the couch, one arm draped over my stomach, head tilted back, mouth slightly open. But I wasn't home. I was 300 miles away in a chain hotel room in Minneapolis. I stared at the image for a solid minute, waiting for my brain to catch up. It had to be an old photo, a glitch. Maybe the app was showing a cached image from before my trip. I checked the timestamp. Tonight, 11:42 p.m. I sat up so fast the pillow fell to the floor. Opened the full screen view. Zoomed in, it was me. Same clothes I'd worn yesterday. His same throw blanket with the stupid floral pattern my sister had bought me as a joke. Same position I'd slept in during my last nap. Only I hadn't been home in 2 days. I refreshed the feed. The camera now showed an empty hallway. I called my neighbor, Carol, who had my spare key. She didn't answer. I texted her, waited, called again, still no answer. Then I called the non-emergency police line. I think someone might be in my house, I said. I'm out of town, but my security cam showed someone inside. Do you see them right now? The dispatcher asked. No, I said. But I did, it like someone's sleeping on my couch. Looked like me. There was a pause. Like a photo of you? No, I said. Live. Or it looked live. I don't know. They took my name, address, and promised to send an officer to check. I sat in bed staring at the screen, refreshing the feed every 10 seconds. Nothing. At 12:18 a.m., my phone rang again. It was the officer. We checked the perimeter. No signs of forced entry. Your doors and windows are locked. Everything looks secure. What about inside? We can't enter without consent unless there's clear evidence of a break-in, the officer said. Do you want us to contact your key holder? I already did. She's not picking up. If you're still concerned, we recommend returning and checking personally. I hung up, more confused than reassured. Had it been me? Was the camera glitching? Was there a delay in the snapshot system? Sleep was impossible. I scrolled back through the feed history. At 11:43, 1 minute after the first snapshot, there was another. My front door again. No figure visible inside. At 11:47, another alert. Motion detected living room. I hadn't set a second camera there. That camera didn't exist. Yet there was a still image, taken from an angle I didn't recognize, looking down from the corner of my living room ceiling. And again, me, lying on the couch, sleeping. The same position, same blanket, and this time, the photo was slightly closer. Almost imperceptibly, but closer. I checked my security app settings. There were no additional cameras registered, only the front door. My phone buzzed again. 11:55 p.m., motion detected, unknown device, living room. I couldn't breathe. I called Carol again, still no answer. I called 911. This time, I told them everything. The ghost photos, the unregistered camera, the fact that someone or something seemed to be taking live pictures of me inside my house when I wasn't there. I understand, the dispatcher said calmly. We'll send officers again and will request permission to enter with your neighbor's key. Please stay on the line. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. At 12:10 a.m., another photo appeared. Same room. Same me. But this time, my eyes were open. Staring straight into the camera, I dropped the phone. The dispatcher was still talking, but I couldn't focus. I picked it up again with shaking hands. The still image stared back at me. A version of me. Pale. Eyes wide. Blank. Sir? Sir, are you still there? Please. I croaked. Please hurry. The officers entered the house at 12:23 a.m. I heard them through my phone speaker as they moved from room to room. Clear. No one's here. Living room's empty. They described the setup, couch, lamp, throw blanket, but no one on the couch. No evidence of recent activity, no additional cameras, no signs of tampering. I asked them to check the ceiling corners. They did. Nothing. No mounts, no wires, no lens. I made them open every drawer, every cabinet. Nothing. They left, saying there was no threat, no crime. Suggested maybe someone had accessed my app credentials. Advised me to reset everything. I thanked them hollowly. I didn't sleep. The next morning I drove home. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it. No signs of intrusion, no damage. The couch was undisturbed. Blanket folded, no warmth in the cushion, no evidence anyone had ever sat there. I reset the app, changed every password, checked the router logs, nothing unusual. It should have ended there. But 2 nights later at 2:04 a.m., I got another alert. Motion detected, bedroom. The photo showed me again, lying in bed on my back, mouth slightly open, eyes shut. I was at my desk, awake, not in bed. I ran to the bedroom, empty. Bed untouched. I stared at the image. It had been taken from above, like a camera mounted to the ceiling light. I checked the light fixture. Nothing there. No camera, no power source, no holes. I ripped the whole thing down anyway. Then I slept in the tub. The next week passed in a fog of dread. Every night, a new photo, always of me, always asleep, always from a different angle, sometimes the couch, sometimes the bed, once from inside the kitchen cabinet looking out through a crack. And slowly, so slowly, I began to notice something else. I wasn't just being photographed. The photos were changing. The version of me in them started looking different. The first few I looked normal, but then my eyes seemed sunken. Skin pale, lips slightly blue. Then tiny details changed. A small cut on the cheek I didn't have. Bruising on the neck. By the 7th photo, my reflection, if you could call it that, was smiling. Just a little. A faint, tight-lipped smirk. The real me hadn't smiled in days. I stopped checking the app. I turned off notifications. I couldn't handle seeing more. Until last night. I'd fallen asleep at the kitchen table. Woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing, vibrating against the wood like a hornet. I looked. 1 notification. Motion detected, front door camera. I didn't want to open it. But I did. The photo was dark, my front door, lit only by the motion light. And standing there, staring into the camera was me, or something wearing my face. Same clothes, same haircut, but the posture was wrong. Too straight, too stiff. And the eyes reflecting the camera's night vision were bright white. I got up, looked through the peephole. No one was there. I didn't open the door. I didn't sleep. At 3:15 a.m., another photo. Me again. Inside the house this time. Walking down the hallway, closer to the bedroom, I turned every light on, checked every corner. The house was empty, but I could feel it. The wrongness. Something was here. Something was watching. I went to the front door, deleted the camera app, disconnected the Wi-Fi, smashed the router, took a hammer to every lens, every reflective surface, and then silence. No more photos, no more movement. For a moment, I thought it was over, until just now. I turned my phone on again, just to check. No notifications, but in the photo gallery, in the recents folder, there's a new image, taken just a few minutes ago. It's me, lying in bed, asleep, smiling. And in the corner of the photo, just visible in the edge of the frame, is a hand. Not mine, holding the phone. I moved into the apartment on a Sunday. It was one of those gray days where the sky can't decide if it's going to rain or stay sullen and dry. The place was a steal, a 1-bedroom on the 5th floor, near the university. Cheap rent because it was old and in need of charm, as the listing had phrased it. I didn't care. It was close enough to campus that I could walk, and the plumbing worked. Mostly. The bathroom mirror was the first thing I didn't like. It was one of those antique fixtures, round and framed in tarnished brass. The surface wasn't flat. There was a slight warp to the glass, like it had sagged inward over decades. I assumed it was the heat or some flaw in the metal backing. It made my reflection look subtly wrong, like I was seeing myself through water. I didn't think much of it at first. I was busy. Classes, part-time work at the library, trying to get through my thesis without completely unraveling. But the mirror kept bothering me. Not every day, not all the time, just when the lights were out. It started maybe a week after I moved in. I was brushing my teeth with the overhead light off, relying on the faint glow from the hallway. I glanced up mid-rinse and nearly choked. For a fraction of a second, I saw movement in the mirror. Not me. Not a reflection. Just a flicker, like someone had shifted behind me. I turned. Nothing. I turned back. My reflection stared, unbothered. I told myself it was my mind playing tricks. Lack of sleep, too much caffeine, maybe a shadow from the hallway. But it kept happening, only when the lights were off. Sometimes, I'd walk into the bathroom in the dark and swear I saw a figure in the glass before I even reached the switch. Not detailed, just the shape. Tall, still, watching. I began leaving the light on, all the time, even when I wasn't home. It felt silly, paranoid, but the feeling in my gut, that prickling, stomach-twisting unease, wasn't something I could shake. A month passed. The sightings, if you could call them that, got clearer. One night, I forgot to turn the bathroom light on before heading to bed. I woke up around 3 a.m., bladder aching, stumbled in half asleep, and didn't bother with the switch. I was standing at the sink, groggy, when I looked up and froze. There was a person in the mirror. Not a shadow, not a vague form. A man. He was standing directly behind me, maybe 2 feet back. But when I turned around, violently, nearly slipping on the tiled floor, there was no one there, just the small, cramped bathroom, the hum of the building's ancient heating pipes, and the pounding my heart. I flicked the light on. The mirror showed only me, pale, eyes wide, hair tousled. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I started checking the mirror during the day, with the light on, with the door open. I tried taking pictures of it, recording video. Nothing. The figure never showed up in photos, only in the moment, only in darkness. It became an obsession. I covered the mirror with a towel, duct taped the corners. That worked for a while, until the towel started falling down at random times. Always when I was home, always when the bathroom light had accidentally been left off. Then I bought a new mirror, just a cheap one from the thrift store. I propped it on the counter, leaning it against the wall, and covered the old one completely. That night, I woke to a noise, a faint, rhythmic tapping. I lay in bed, trying to place it. It wasn't the window, not the radiator, not footsteps. Tap, tap, tap. I got up, heart in my throat. The sound was coming from the bathroom. Tap, tap, tap. Soft, delicate, fingernails on glass. I opened the door. The towel had fallen. The tapping stopped. My eyes adjusted, and I saw the mirror exposed, uncovered. The new mirror I'd placed in front of it was lying on the floor, cracked down the center. There was nothing in the old mirror, just me. But behind me, in the reflection, a faint outline lingered, barely perceptible. Just enough to suggest presence. I didn't go back to sleep. I sat in the kitchen until the sun rose. Then I took the mirror down. It was bolted to the wall, but I unscrewed it, sweating, hands shaking, and set it face down in the hallway. The wall behind it was ordinary. Peeling paint, a bit of mold near the top. No secret passage, no hidden message. I thought that would end it. It didn't. The next night, I walked past the hallway where the mirror lay face down and saw movement in the glass. It was lying on the floor, face down, and I saw movement in it. Impossible. I flipped it over. Nothing. Just a scuffed surface, cracked brass edges. No figure. No man. But when I turned off the lights just to test, just to prove to myself that I was finally losing my mind, he was there. Standing. Closer now. I screamed. I threw the mirror into the stairwell. It shattered. Splintered into dozens of jagged pieces. I swept them up with gloves, put them in a bag, and walked 6 blocks to the dumpster behind an old restaurant that always reeked of grease and garbage. I tossed the bag in and ran. The relief was instant, like a weight had lifted. I slept for the first time in days, until the next night, when I woke up and a shard of the mirror on my nightstand. Just a sliver. Maybe the size of my palm. But its edge was sharp, and its surface reflected my face and something else. A smudge, a silhouette. I didn't touch it. I called my friend Mark. He lived across town. Told him I needed to stay the night. Didn't explain why. When I got to his place, I checked my bag. I hadn't packed the shard, but it was there, wrapped in a sock, sitting on top of my change of clothes. Mark noticed my face and didn't press me. That night, I locked the shard in his bathroom inside the medicine cabinet and stacked a chair in front of the door for good measure. At 2 a.m., I woke to glass breaking. The bathroom mirror had cracked from corner to corner. The shard I'd locked away was gone. I left before dawn. I started researching. Old mirrors, superstitions, the idea of reflections being windows or traps. I read about scrying, about reflective surfaces acting as thresholds. I found an old thread on a paranormal forum. Most of it was nonsense, teenagers trying to spook each other, but one user had written something that chilled me. Sometimes it's not a ghost. Sometimes it's you, a version of you. Not quite human, not quite separate. The thing in the mirror isn't trying to mimic you, it's trying to replace you. I stopped sleeping at home, rented hotel rooms, slept at the library once. My eyes developed bags so dark they looked like bruises. I saw the figure everywhere now, in reflections of windows, puddles, even polished metal. Always in the dark, always motionless, but always watching. One night, in a cheap motel outside the city, the mirror fogged up from the shower. I hadn't been in the bathroom yet, but a message was written in the condensation. Let me in. I smashed that mirror too. The motel charged me $250. I didn't care. I went home. Determined to end it, I covered every reflective surface, taped black paper over windows, lined my sink with towels, smashed the screen on my TV. But it didn't matter. The figure started appearing in my dreams, only briefly, just flashes but unmistakable. The tall man, pale face, hollow eyes, sometimes standing at the edge of my bed, sometimes behind me in the dream's mirror. I began filming myself sleeping, just to see, just to be sure. The first few nights, nothing. Then on the fourth video, at exactly 3:12 a.m., the footage flickered. Static, a shadow. For 2 frames, the figure stood at the foot of my bed. Then it was gone. I scrubbed through the footage, rewound, slowed it down. He was there. I froze the frame, printed it. Even in black and white, the shape was clear, the outline of the man, not me. Taller, shoulders too broad, face obscured. In the reflection on the closet door, my sleeping self lay still. He stood, watching. I stopped filming after that. I began hearing whispers, just at the edge of hearing. My name, spoken slow and low as if through water. One night, I woke up facing my bedroom mirror, the one I'd covered in a blanket. The blanket was gone. In the reflection, I wasn't lying in bed. I was standing. Looking back at myself, I blinked, sat up, heart racing. In the mirror, the standing version of me didn't move. It just smiled. Not my smile. A stretched, wrong version of it. Then it raised its hand and waved. I lunged for the mirror and smashed it with the lamp. Glass rained down. Blood sprayed from my hand. The figure was gone. I was alone. I went to the hospital. Said it was an accident. Got stitches. I didn't go home. Mark let me crash with him again. This time, I made sure there were no mirrors, no reflections. I even covered his microwave door. 3 days passed. Then Mark found something in his kitchen drawer. A fragment of glass. When he held it up, even in the light, he swore he saw a shape behind me. I moved again. Different city, different name, but it's still following me. Last night, I turned off the light in the bathroom of my new apartment, and in the mirror, I saw myself. Smiling, waving, and behind him, a second figure, even taller, even closer. They're not just watching anymore. They're waiting.